Welcome to the Upfeel podcast. Episode 6, Youth and Eco-Anxiety.
Hey, hello. Thank you to both of you for joining me. And today we will have a little chat about climate change and the feelings we might have associated with climate change and everything that's happening in the world related to it. This podcast is recorded within the project Upfeel, which is an Erasmus Plus project with the aim to understand in a more detailed and better way the feelings young people might have about the climate change and how these feelings impact the daily life of these young people. One of the objectives of the project was also to find some specific tools and methods to help them cope with these feelings. So as to say, to make them feel better, more calm, and so on. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Linda, and I'm a project manager in one of the organizations which implements this project. And now I would like to give floor to you, just to briefly introduce yourselves, who you are, and what you do.
Then I will start. Hello, my name is Alise, and I am a medical student in my last year. And that's about it.
Okay, and Marta?
Hi, I'm Marta, and I'm working in IT, and I really love the nature. So I'm very interested in the topic of environment and how the changes in it go.
Okay.
The last years.
Okay, first I want to start with the term eco-anxiety or climate-related anxiety. Have you heard about this thing before? Do you have some experience with it? Have you read maybe some articles or had like chats with friends about this?
So I have heard about this term before, and mostly I've been talking with my friends. And actually, basically, when we talked about our everyday lives, it just somehow turned up that it is, and some of us have it.
Okay, Marta, do you have some?
I do think that many young people do know about this term, even though like not always the definition or not always have you read about that in articles. But I think that in even in recent pop culture, it's very not popular, but it's normal to talk about the thing that, well, maybe we won't be able to go to Venice in like 50 years when we will have money and time and we'll be retired, because it's already sinking, and it is a topic that is surfacing more and more.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next question, which is about the youth perspective on the environment. Do you think there is a difference between how young people perceive the future of the planet as regards to how do older generations do it? Is there like a difference in opinion? Maybe you have seen this in your daily life, like when you talk to your grandparents, maybe or even parents. Are there any differences in ideas, thoughts about the future of the planet?
Yes, I have seen the difference. I've experienced it myself, especially in regions in the countryside. The older people, they don't really talk about it because it is not a concern for them, because they're living the life as they are used to. They don't see very big changes, and if they do, it's just the age. Things around them are quite old, especially if they've been living in the same place for 20, 30 years. Things just age, and so they don't really notice the changes of climate change, actually.
I do think it's also about those older generations who maybe live in countryside or in smaller towns and only get the news by newsletters or TV, that many things that are like casual that change, they don't get reported that much. For example, maybe the average amount of like the rain or something, they can say, oh yeah, last month it was so rainy, now it's a total draw, and then the next month it's again extremely rainy and like nothing, no crops can be grown, and they just say, yeah, it's just a bad year. But then you think about it, and the bad year has been like for 10, if not like for 12 years lately. And now with the things that we see in the news of hurricanes totally destroying areas, I do think that they just don't get informed, and then that's why they get to live this calm and not anxious lifestyle of just knowing that in their lifetime, maybe it won't affect them that much. But then even in Latvia, we got that horrible hurricane this summer that destroyed so many parks, so many trees, so many houses were hurt by that. And we just moved on from that so quickly. But I think that, yeah, I think they just don't pay attention to that so much as we do, younger people.
Actually, I wanted to go.
Talking.
Sorry.
It's okay. I also wanted to mention the hurricane this summer. Yes, maybe it is not talked about, but you can still see the fallen trees. They have not been fully picked up. The dents in the guardrails on the highways, they're still there, and the people are still dealing with the consequences, although nobody really talks about it anymore. Maybe they will by the end of the year, like in the retrospect, yeah, in this year this happened and that's it. We won't be really talking about it unless something similar happens again.
Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, I wanted to go back to the point Marta said before, that many of the things are not reported on the news. So my next question is, do you think that social media, because young people use social media way more than older generations do. So do you think that maybe social media and also discussions on social media or information, also these jokes, memes, like everything you can find on social media, does this kind of play a big part in shaping ideas on anxiety, eco-anxiety among young people? Maybe that's what kind of fosters this anxiety, because every day you receive so much information and you kind of are not able to process it like wholly. What do you think about it?
I would agree, because most global news I firstly actually see on social media, then on reputable news sources in Latvian. And the amount of information that can be gained just scrolling through some of them is enormous. And if you see, oh, something bad is happening there, here, everything is going crazy, then yes, you are getting anxious. Maybe it will happen next to me in my place.
Okay, Marta, do you have something to add?
But I also think that it's not the anxiety those social media give us, it's the realization that so many things are changing and the weather is going nuts, and then you realize, okay, yes, maybe this summer it was a hurricane, next summer it will be 2 hurricanes, and maybe that won't only affect Jūrmala and the area, maybe that will also go deeper into the Latvian land, and maybe other towns will be crashed too, and you start to think, oh, but I live in those places and I don't want that to happen to me. And the anxiety, I think it's not the social media that make us feel anxiety, is the understanding that we personally can't really do anything about that.
Yeah, I would agree that it's not the social media, it's our realization. But social media helps to realize it a lot, because there are so many different options and different opinions that we are forced to think about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one good way to kind of spread information or talk about this is to share personal experience. So I wanted to ask you if you would feel comfortable to share maybe like a specific memory or moment when you kind of felt that you have this climate-related anxiety. Was it like a specific event that triggered these ideas, or do you have some personal experience?
I can share my personal experience. A couple of years ago, we had a very dry summer. And as I live in a private housing in a village type of situation, we have a common underground well. And because it was so dry and others were, not all of them, but some were still doing a lot of yard work, using a lot of water, we had a situation where we were asked, hey, stop watering the grass, stop doing yard work, because the water level, the underground water level is so low that we are on the verge of actually breaking the system and getting sand into it. And then I had the realization that, hey, I don't have enough water for those 3 days at my home. So yeah, now I have a system with water. If electricity is gone, if there is very dry summer, that I have water for at least 2-3 days. And if needed more, I can go and buy. But for the very first day, I still have it. And the hurricane this summer, I was without electricity for almost 24 hours. We had to figure out how to cook food, and it was a very good idea, because we had like water specifically for cooking, because there's no air in it. And then we had the water for hygiene, for toilet and everything. So we did quite good. But if I would not have prepared before, then it would have been bad.
Yeah, it starts to feel like living in Interstellar kind of situation, where you have to like think that, okay, the climate is not helping me. I have to prepare. I have to have enough food for a couple days so I can sustain myself. I have to have the water. And also, my example of seeing the disturbing actions of climate change was not that practical, but last summer I was in Portugal and we were in the mountains. So we stayed there with a community. It was also an Erasmus project. And on the way there, you just cross a lot of woods. You have a beautiful road and you look at them and it's like, it was quite dry, and the whole project was about the actions we can take to stop drying of the land and actually help it be more natural and be more healthy. And then one evening there was like a very suspicious smoke going around, and the next morning we have to leave, and it turned out that a very big area of the forests that we were passing by, that we saw and we liked and we like appreciated, took photos and videos from, they were just gone. There was a fire, it was too dry, someone just maybe pushed a cigarette out of the window of a car, or it was just a natural starting fire. And then you realize that, whoa, the things we are talking about are not only like theoretical. You can't, like, you sit there and you realize, okay, they taught us how to stop the wildfire by making dams of water that catch the water when it rains. And you don't think about it in the workshop. You say, so interesting. I didn't know that would work. That's crazy how physics work. And then you go there, you see the totally burnt forest, like everything is black, everything is charcoal. And you understand, whoa, okay, that's why we study it. And that's how fast it can change. Like yesterday there was a lush forest and today there is like nothing.
Yeah, I think, as you said also before, the realization that you understand that it's happening not only somewhere far away, but you kind of experience it on the first row, so as to say. So yeah, but it's a big shame about the forest, and I think the dry summers and hot weather, it's just gonna impact so many places. Also in Latvia, I think we have the same problem if it's not raining and so on.
I would also want to add that, like right now, if we watch the news, you see the Hurricane Helen that just went and finally stopped existing. I hope in America, and you see that they are getting another one. And it's not only the drought that impacts horribly, it's also the water, because when you see towns washed off, and when you see that, I don't know what the site was, but there is this meteorological website that you can access, and you can just see what cyclones are where and where are they going. And at some point, I scrolled to the Europe and I saw that a tropical storm was hitting next to Norway, I think, and I was so shocked, because what do you mean a tropical storm in October in Norway?
Yeah.
What reality are we living in? And then I realized, oh, well, this one.
Yeah, I think nowadays there are so many events which they kind of make sense because of the climate change, and we know that the climate is changing. But as you said before, your first thought was like tropical storm in October. Here, it feels like it doesn't make sense, and so I think it also could make us feel anxious. And that is my next question about anxiety we might have with these climate-related events. If you have this anxiety, if you feel anxious, has this kind of had an impact on your daily life and decision making? Does this fear about the climate change has direct impact on your daily life?
Yes, I would say maybe in everyday life it's a little bit, because I like to use public transportation, but when taking bigger decisions about the house life and everything, I do need to think, hey, maybe I need to buy that because it's not perishable, or we can charge it or something like that. I need to think about what would happen if there would be no water, no electricity, and things like that. I need to be prepared and be aware that it can happen once in the summer, twice, or it can be a lot of melting snow and things like that. I need to be prepared because it has already happened. It was fine for me, just some trees fell, but it can do a lot more damage.
Yeah, I do think that I don't think our parents in their teenage years and in their early 20s had to think, okay, I live so far away from my family, so 200 kilometers. And what happens if a big something will hit? And that can not only be a drought, that can be the falling trees after a hurricane, or that can be floods. How do I get over to my family? And I think now when I am living here, like the flat that I can imagine myself starting to rent out, it has to be on the right side of the river, because I do realize that if there is an unsafe situation, that I don't want to be isolated on one side of the river of Daugava and not be able to cross it, because we have limited bridges, and what if those bridges are not there? Well, you can't really swim over to the another side. Like the currents are too strong, and that's those little things that you realize, and then you can't forget about them, and you just build your whole life around them.
Okay, and if we speak about these little decisions you have to make, what you have to remember when you're like making a decision for yourselves, your place where to live and so on, do you have like some effective coping mechanisms, like some strategies, how you deal with these, like all of this you have to kind of keep in your mind and think about? Do you have some kind of tips and tricks how to not go insane, or I don't know?
I don't know if it's the tips and tricks for not going insane, but what helps me is I do create quite a lot of lists of things I need and things I may need. And if I have the lists and I know I'm going to buy them or just organize it, it's fine. At least I have a list I can follow. That's a good thing. And then I just like to isolate myself with a nice music and a nice book and with a hot drink, and then forget about all of it for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I don't know, like on the spot, the things that help me not to think about it. But if we are like really very sincere and do bring up like little stupid things too,
Yeah.
I like to imagine that, well, I have like I don't remember what city that was, but they have a big display of like 4 years, some months and some hours of the time that we still have where we can impact the climate and get it back on track. And when I saw this article or video about it, I thought, okay, I have a stable job. I can just live as frugal as I can. I can like buy some canned foods to be very sure that I have everything under control. And then in 2 years, I will have enough money to like spend it on traveling to see the world before it all falls apart in my mind. I do hope it won't, but my mind thinks differently, and then I just say, okay, you have to wait a little bit more and like survive it, and then get so much money, and then you can go and you just say goodbye to societal norms, and you just totally embrace the planet of ours.
So for you, it would be like traveling and seeing the places you hope are gonna still be there when you have like money to travel.
Yeah, I don't like how that sounds when you say it aloud, because it sounds quite dramatic and it sounds quite sad. But I do hope to see some of the places that are sinking right now, the islands nearby Maldives and like Venice, for example. They built so interesting architecture on literal nothing. Like they built a city on damp, very, very damp soil. And now like 500 years of innovation and architectural masterpieces are going underwater, and I'm thinking, okay, I have to be one of the people who gets to visit it and who still gets to see it.
I just would like to add that it's not a stupid thing to feel or say, because it's a reality. Many places we have in the world, they are affected by climate change, activity of people, and so there is this risk that they will not be available anymore for visiting. So I don't think it's a stupid thing to say, and it's not dramatic, because it's reality. We might lose some of the nature spots, islands. So that's just reality. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is activism and how it might help with feeling anxious about the climate. So what do you think? Can activism help with the anxiety related to climate change? And maybe you have some specific examples about some projects, organizations where you've participated just to kind of pitch in for the planet. Do you have some experience? No?
I do. Most recent ones are with you, with Tifi, and they're nice, especially because you always meet new people with completely different perspectives. And we're talking about flooding and roads, but for us, it's not such big level and big impact as in the beginning of year, I spoke with persons from Jordan. That their water levels are actually below World Health Organization's calculated amount of water that is needed for one person to actually be able to live, just to survive. So the projects where even for a little while you meet new people, open eyes how different the problems are. We don't live in a small bubble, but all of those problems stem from the same thing. The climate is changing, and we individually can do a little about it, but what we can, we need to do.
Okay, Marta, do you have some experience in activism, or?
I don't have experience in activism, but as I mentioned before, last year I was in an exchange program in Portugal, and it's also always nice, like activism. It doesn't necessarily, for me personally, mean that you are like into some idea like till death. No, you just go to the places where you know that if you're not alone there, that means not only you care about that problem. And it was very nice experience. We like learned that Spain is not doing so well, that Portugal is not doing so well, that deforestation is actually a cycle that both leads, like the less forests there are, the less forests there will be next year, because if there is not enough forest to keep the moisture in the soil, then the soil will go will erode, and there will not be possibility for new trees to hatch, like from seeds, and there won't be possibility for the old ones to survive maybe that year. And then you go there and you see that devastating picture, but you see that you're not alone in that moment. You're not alone who cares about that thing. And you see the pictures of like projects where other people have volunteered and went to do something about it, and it gives you a little bit hope and gives you a little bit of inspiration to maybe go and do something too. And I'm not meaning like sorting plastic. I think we all do now in Latvia, the great plastic system, and I hope they implement like further versions of it. But I'm saying about really like going somewhere where the crisis is very hitting hard, and then you do something there and you hope and you see the results. And maybe that won't change the big picture of the world, but you will again feel that sense of control that maybe is totally like false, because none of us can personally alone do anything about climate change, but that gives you that feeling, and emotionally that really hits hard when you see, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I still like can influence something, and the penguins won't die this year.
Yeah, actually, I like the idea that you spoke about not being alone. So actually, I was thinking that what do you think about the community's role in having these anxious feelings about the climate change? Is it important to have like community-based activities or some help from the community to help deal with this, to talk about these emotions, and so that people, especially young people, understand that they are not alone and that their feelings are valid? Do you have some opinion on this?
I would say yes, community is very important, especially because we do love to socialize as humans. And the bare minimum a community can do is just not to be in the way, because actually it stems from the older generations. Why are you trying? You can't do anything either way. And that creates a bit more anxiety. But if you have even the older generations, okay, fine, you do what you do. And even with this mindset, it helps a lot, because you don't have the problems with making sure you're doing the right thing and fighting against other people. You're doing, and if the community helps, it's even better, because hey, I can talk about, maybe I can do something better because this person, hey, it works for them, I can try it out. The exchange of information is very valuable in a community setting.
I also think that if we see community as like NGOs and stuff, it does make you feel not alone in this anxiety and in these fears. But I also think that in community, in sense of like, if we go to like a Saturday park cleanup, it doesn't have to be a park, it doesn't have to be a Saturday, but if we bring young people, and I'm saying like from the middle school, if we bring them to some woods or some park area and say, let's clean it, they will most surely not like it, but later when they are walking through that park, they will think about the time they spent trying to clean it, and actually will maybe carry that bottle till the rubbish bin and not put it in just on the grass. It may not work for all, but it does put that thought process into young people and into. I do think that if we take some older people, some adults that sadly still dispose their rubbish in woods, and if we go to the woods that do not belong to Latvia's Valsts Meža and we see like refrigerators, just sacks and sacks of rubbish, maybe if we had like a system to make those people, and we don't know who was that, but if we just make people go there and actually do something with it and feel how horrible it feels to take the rubbish out of the forest, maybe next time they will dispose it right way, and maybe then they will think twice about just throwing a cigarette into the forest or a whole sack of nothing.
I completely agree. It also takes, it's important to educate people about these things, because maybe they just even don't think about the consequences, because they haven't heard about this thing, this problem. No one has explained why it's like harmful for the environment, so they're maybe a little bit ignorant. But I think education could potentially solve the problem.
It's not only they don't know, but many people, I'm sure they are not always horrible people, the people who just dispose their rubbish into the woods, but they just think, oh, but I know there is already rubbish there. I know people do it and they don't face any consequences. And maybe at this point, I don't know how to, where to put this rubbish elsewhere. And the thought process is very understandable. The thing is to show that it is not normal. Even if others do it, you don't have to do it, you know?
Yeah, that would be a good motto. You don't have to do it because others do it. Okay.
And continuing on this actually is we don't need to go the easiest way. We just maybe need to search up, hey, maybe 5 kilometers further there is a specific place where you can give off the old refrigerator, the old washing machine. But you just need to take a bit of time, search, and it's okay. But a lot of people live for the convenience, so hey, there's an empty space. Nobody's going there. I haven't seen anybody. I'm just gonna get rid of my trash here.
Yeah, I also think that living for convenience statement is very important, because when I was younger, like first or third grade, there was that big problem with ozone layer in the world, because of the refrigerators that had that one chemical in them that kept being disposed into the air, and it actually triggered the ozone layer to decompose. And when everyone understood that maybe we could just change that one component, and of course that would take a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and a little change in the processing, but that will actually solve a huge problem. And I think most of our problems as people stand in that living for convenience, and then we are here having like a panic attack about not being able to go somewhere.
Well, everything is interconnected, and I think, unfortunately, like consumerism, convenience, living, and so on, well, it's a big problem today, and we have to just deal with it. I just wanted to circle back to nature. We started to talk about the produce in the forest. So my question is, do you have some experience when nature kind of helps you to calm down? Maybe you can share like a personal experience where nature has had a positive impact on your, not, I wouldn't want to say mental health, but on your feelings, on your mood. Like, does nature help at all to ease some of these feelings?
I would say yes, and the best example was actually this morning. The fog and the sun behind the fog. It looks so pretty that I was like, hey, I could write somebody good morning, no matter how early I need to wake up. But it was pretty, so my mood going forward into the day was a bit better because it looks so good outside.
You, Marta, do you have some experience when nature kind of helped you feel better?
Yeah, I think every time in my life when I felt low, going to the sea and like just losing my thoughts into that monotonic wave sound, that always helped me. And we don't have the saying, go outside and touch grass for nothing.
Mm.
It does bring you down to earth. It shows that nothing is totally lost. Like, you can do something still, and maybe it's not that bad. Maybe you just have to find another solution, or you just have to reevaluate something. Like, it's not the end of the world yet. It's just somewhere in the process.
That's a good point. Yes. Just to conclude, the last question about the future. I know we've talked about heavy things, heavy topics, and that we have some fear about the future and so on. But maybe we can talk about some positive changes we can do, we as individuals can do to kind of make the world like a better place and maybe mitigate these feelings of fear or feeling anxious. Is there something we could do to be more happy and more calm in our everyday life? Do you have some advice?
I would say there's a couple of things we can do. The very first thing is to find maybe even one friend or a group, it no matter online or physically or something like that, where we feel comfortable sharing and talking, because being heard and your feelings being validated sometimes actually is enough to take over the edge of the anxiety, and you have a clearer mind to just figure it out yourself. And maybe doing small things also helps. If you can buy a pack of pasta in a bigger thing, and you know that it lessens even a little bit the plastic waste, maybe do that. Start small, and it actually, you see it grows.
It's like
You
a
see the
snowball
impact.
effect, no? The
Yeah.
small things kind of turn into like a bigger
Yeah.
thing. Okay, thank you. And Marta, you have some.
I do think that the friend advice is really great, because sometimes maybe that's problem of my friends, but not everyone wants to hear these things. Not everyone wants to actually, like, many people live in their little bubble, and as long as that bubble is not popped by the consequences of all of our actions, they are comfortable in it. And I do accept it. I do understand that it's much easier, much calmer to live that way. And it is very good to have people who you still can talk about these things with. But for me, personally, I had a pretty long period of time that I was very emotional about this question, and I was very scared. I was very I thought, oh no, what are we gonna do? Like, 20 years from now, are we even all still here? Can we normally live? And then I understood that the more you think about it, the more it gets you, and the more you feel useless, you feel powerless, because all those little actions, they are cool. They are like, if everyone would do that, that would be very nice for ecology. But if we see the graphics, then it's the big companies that are responsible for almost all of the problems, like for all of the CO2 emissions. We can't, like, personally do that much stuff to so quickly weaken our planet. But that realization was like, when it hit me, I was like, okay, so I can do small things to make me feel better, but in the long run, I can't do anything. And that is disturbing, and that is very calming at the same time, because if I can't do anything, I cannot make it worse, really. I can just live my life. I can try to make as many people happy, make myself happy, help people if I have the energy and resources to help. And if I don't, I just don't make problems more. Like, and like the synopsis of all of this is just accept that you cannot be responsible for all of it, because when we feel overwhelmed and anxious, we think, oh no, maybe I had something I could do, or maybe I have something I could do or I shouldn't do that would magically erase all the problems. But no, you just have to keep going. And maybe when you see people doing the wrong decisions, maybe point that out. Don't be peer pressured, but in reality, you just have to live your life. You can't change big picture right now. Hopefully, in the future, we can.
Actually, I agree that we as individuals cannot change like the big picture, but still the things we do, at least they don't make things worse, which is a really good thing. And also I completely agree that people sometimes put like too much responsibility on themselves, and they try to kind of live up to this responsibility, and that might lead to feeling anxious and just feeling guilty for not doing enough. So I think it's important to set the boundaries, to understand how much you can do, what you can do in your daily life to kind of help the situation, the environment, and so on, but not to feel guilty about everything that's happening. So I think that kind of helps to calm our mind and just proceed with our life and try to be as happy as we can and just enjoy ourselves. So this was the last question from my side. If you have something you would like to add, or share, you still have a couple of minutes to do so. But if no, do you have something you want to add, or?
The only thing I want to add is maybe after this we should go outside and actually enjoy the nature, because we have been sitting here for quite a while.
Exactly, and today is like a very beautiful day with sun, so like a walk in the park would be like perfect. Just also have some vitamin D from the sun and just enjoy the sun. Did you want to add something, Marta?
I would just maybe, if the last thing I have to say is, even if it all goes very, very badly, I do still want to enjoy every moment of the things we still have. The sun outside, the fog in the morning, anything while it still lasts.
Yeah. So I will wish to all of you to enjoy the small things. A couple of days ago, I was in the countryside, and also I woke up early and I just saw like a spider web, which was like, I don't know how to explain it, but there was like sun shining on these spider webs, and there were like pearls of water. So it was really beautiful. So I would just wish to every one of you to pay attention to these small things, to smile more, to enjoy life, and just not put too much pressure on ourselves. So thank you very much for the conversation. It was really interesting for me, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy it as well. Yeah, so thank you. Have a nice day, and just go outside and enjoy the nature.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice